Debt for many is a four-letter word. Older generations saw it as a terrifying burden, but that's not exactly so for younger generations. Shawn Stack is vice president of the insolvency practice, Bromwich and Smith. He joins us now from Calgary, Alberta, on how our relationship with debt has changed. Hi, Shawn. It's very nice to meet you.
Oh, it's lovely to be here, my friend.
Your firm recently conducted a national survey to take the pulse of, quote, Canadian compassion on debt forgiveness. Here are some of the responses from the Debt Cost Tracker on the perceptions of why people get into debt. Sheldon, could you please bring in the board? Top responses include, because people chose more than one category, it adds up to more than 100%. 42% say it's lack of financial literacy. 41% say cost of living increases. 40% unexpected financial emergencies such as a car accident, divorce, major health problem, a lawsuit, or a natural disaster. And 36% say job loss. You know, I thought the survey was really interesting because you wanted to examine empathy and stigma around debt. How come?
Well, because the vision of my firm is really, it's not just about providing the solution that's available to Canadians under the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act. It's actually about normalizing the conversation of debt within the community. And part of what we're about is recognizing the social and emotional impacts of debt within the community. So it's not just about solving the manifestation of the overburdenment of debt, but it's actually kind of getting to the root of it so we can kind of change the community dialogue and start removing some of that stigma.
I am divulging too much information, but after university, I had a debt collector calling me, but I don't remember empathy being part of those conversations.
Well, and unfortunately, that kind of is the perspective in relation to debt collection. And so, as a licensed insolvency trustee, our role is not to collect the debt any more than it is to sort of chase after and collect assets. The role of the licensed insolvency trustee is we could be engaged from you, perhaps as a citizen, saying, "Hey, listen, I've got too many debt collectors coming after me. I need some assistance in stopping this and getting into a plan to restructure that debt." But you know something, Nam, when it comes to debt collection, it's a very difficult job that those debt collectors are involved in. And sometimes they leave empathy at the door in an effort to sort of protect themselves from the stress of what they're doing.
The numbers that we saw the responses that we saw were about perceptions. How do those perceptions match up to the reality? What are the reasons why people go into debt?
Yeah, the reality is people go into debt for all sorts of different reasons, and usually the difficulty is that it happens in small increments. So, notwithstanding that someone can end up owing $48,000, $50,000 in credit card debt, if you were to ask them how did you get here, they don't really know. It's sort of like you have one drink and then you have another drink and you have another drink, and the next thing you know, you're intoxicated. That's what happens with people getting into debt. Now, Nam, the big difference here is there's debt, and then there's the debt where it's overwhelming, that starts impacting your different parts about your life. So that's where we're starting to look and saying, well, when are they insolvent? And then they start to look for accessing these laws that we assist people to access.
Do you find if there's a generational divide on how we understand what causes personal debt?
Yeah, interestingly, like you were mentioning, when you get out of school, the younger generation certainly looks at it and says the older generation was indicating that they believed it was sort of impulse purchases and not being conscious of needs versus wants. Where the younger generation was saying, well, wait a second here, it's not just about that. There is financial literacy aspects. So it's interesting that each generation has their different perspective, and I guess that's what makes Canada such a wonderful place, is that diversity of perspectives. The important thing is that we're having these kind of conversations because it's not so much that one perspective is right or wrong. What's important is that those perspectives are shared in a manner in which we're able to educate one another and move to a better place.
The Ontario government has financial literacy where actually it's being taught in schools now. And your report reveals our changing attitudes towards debt. Back in the 1800s, we had debtors' prisons. Historically, how have our perceptions about debt changed?
Well, so I would say that historically, what would occur is, of course, if you were unable to pay your debt, what would happen? Bankruptcy means broken bench. So the creditors would get together, they'd bring a trustee who would come, take the possessions, break the individual's bank and or pardon me bench, and have them incarcerated. And the only way they'd be out of jail is if they were their friends paid them out. So what ended up happening is, of course, that's not very beneficial to society, as you have the someone that's the breadwinner in jail, because it just sort of breaks down. So what we've looked at as a people, we've looked and we've said, no, this needs to be a rehabilitative process. Now, that's different, being that our laws are that way. But as a people, we still sort of look at someone that is insolvent or unable to pay their debts, and we still sort of say, well, hey, you got yourself here. Shame on you for getting here, and you shouldn't be in this situation.
Well, you know, people carry debt on credit cards. 28,000 is the median amount of debt on credit cards that individual Canadians are carrying. As a society, have we normalized carrying debt, or is it just a sign of the times that we live in?
Well, now I think we've normalized carrying debt. It's just, in a lot of ways, we often will, as people, we're used to carrying debt, but we don't really know how much debt is too much debt. And it's when that moment where you don't feel a sense of financial wellness, right? So one of the things that occurs is that as you put debt onto your credit cards, for example, if you were to get a response when you get your statements back from your creditors, it's going to indicate a certain amount is payable. And that minimum amount, if you pay that, you're never going to be getting out of debt, because it's always going to be going towards the interest as opposed to the principal. I should say a little bit will go towards the principal. So what we need to really normalize around is actually the restructuring of that debt, paying it off, not going too far into debt. Or if you find yourself in a place where you can't, that you actually start using our insolvency laws to restructure yourself.
We keep hearing that there is good debt. Is that such a thing?
Well, certainly. I mean, there's everything is sort of moral or neutral in its purpose. So debt allows you, when you're using debt, it's basically trading your future money for what your present desires are. Right. So money, as we when we go to the workforce, we trade our current time, we get money. And then we trade that for our desires. Debt or credit is what our future money is. So it's our future desire. So it's a great way to access things. The question is, what are your future desires and what are you looking to achieve? Because often, unfortunately, we're not looking far enough down the road. We're sometimes quite myopic in the use of our credit cards and our debt.
To what extent is the normalizing of debt an issue for us as a society?
I think it's huge. I think it's absolutely huge. It's something that we as a people, it's normal to carry debt, right? But we kind of refer to when we're overburdened by debt as if it's the weather, right? So when it's freezing cold outside, we kind of hunker down. We say, well, I guess it's just what it is. I have to weigh this out. Now that's not really the case with debt. In a situation where you've overburdened yourself, there is an ability to restructure and have that debt lowered through our insolvency laws to get to a better place.
You know, there is this idea that it can be very overwhelming, and sometimes you put your head in the sand and just say that it's just going to go away. So, if we live in a society where debt is so normalized, how do we know when we've reached a level of debt that is dangerous? Are there markers or a formula for that?
Well, there's certainly, you could look at something like the debt to income ratio, but it's what's interesting about debt and the experience of debt is it's quite a personal experience. So, I've met people, they owe, say, $15,000 and they're completely overwhelmed. It starts impacting their sleeping patterns. It starts impacting their focus on being able to do their job. Their productivity drops down at work, which can lead to disciplinary actions at work and eventual unemployment. So the amount of debt isn't nearly as important as your relationship to that debt. Do you feel like you are in a place where you're achieving your goals in relation to your future? Are you future focused, or are you in this place where you're actually feeling like, well, there is no future? It's like the old bumper stickers back in the 80s, I owe, off to work I go. The reality is that might be a funny bumper sticker, but that's a pretty depressing way to frame your future potential.
And I think that would also make people kind of not want to deal with the issue at hand when you talk
Well,
about the relationship you have.
absolutely. When something becomes so overwhelming, one of the things that we want to do is we want to ignore it, right? We think like, okay, I'll deal with this after. I've got these other things that I need to deal with. And the reality is that just grows and grows and grows. So sometimes what we do is we keep it in our peripheral and we think, well, if I just focus on what's in front of me, everything's going to be okay. But in order to have an appropriate life and an appropriate framing of our financial wellness, we actually have to have a full scape review of where we're going and what we're trying to do.
48% of people in Canada have budgets. Can that help you avoid going into debt?
Oh, 100%. So when it comes to and this the trouble with this, Nam, is that when we look at something like a budget versus an income and expense statement, they're a little bit different. So
How?
so an income and expense statement is actual data, right? So you would say this is what my income's coming in and this is what my expenses are going out. And that actually is referencing to the past, right? So you would, in order to obtain that information, you have to review what's occurred in the past, or more accurately, what's happening presently. So you're tracking that presently. From there, when you know what those expenses are, then what you do is you say, okay, I would like to adjust these things. And it's that awareness of adjustment that allows you to create that budget. Now, if you just create a budget and say, well, I'm just going to spend, for example, I'm only going to spend $100 on eating out. Well, that might fit very well within a fictional budget. But if you're right now spending $500 a month, what that means is 1 out of the 5 times you would normally do it is when you're able to actually reward yourself with that particular treat.
Wait a minute, are you in my bank account?
I'm not in your bank account. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. You know that.
When you said, anyway, it's a joke. It's a joke. From what you see day to day as an insolvency trustee, to what extent are people aware that they have a problem before they come to you?
Well, obviously when they come to me, because there's different ways you can end up in restructuring. It could be put upon you from an external factor, like being appointed by the court. Now, that doesn't typically happen in relation to personal insolvency, which is what we focus on. Mm-hmm. When it comes to people being aware of it, they are aware of it. And what they do become aware of, Nam, and this is quite interesting, is that they ought to have been here several years before, because they were aware of it before, but they weren't, when I say willing, that's not exactly accurate. They weren't honest enough with themselves to say, no, I need this assistance to move forward. What's important for us to understand is everyone has a part to play in the community. And there's no shame when you need the assistance of professionals within the community. And that's what licensed insolvency trustees are. We're professionals that assist you to access this legislation, to get your debt under control, to get your future back ahead of you.
I can hear people who are watching this or listening to this say, it is your responsibility to not go into debt. We've heard the expression that you're morally bankrupt if you do file for bankruptcy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. I can't see into your bank account, but you can hear into people's living rooms. So that's a little bit, of course, I'm kidding.
I'm very talented, Shawn.
You are very talented. I love TV. So, what I would say to them, it's the old adage, like, walk a mile in someone's shoes before you judge them, right? It's really easy. It's really, really easy to pass judgment on people. And if you take pride in your passing judgment on people, I'm certainly not going to pass judgment on you for that, but I don't think that's how a community is built. Start from a place of empathy. How does this happen, right? Oftentimes what occurs, Nam, is that we as a people believe that our banks and our creditors are not going to allow us to get into a situation where we become over our head. And the fact of the matter is that's not the responsibility of the credit grantor. Now, you might say, well, if I can't afford it, they won't loan me the money. And that's true in some cases, right? But it could be the situation that you overburden yourself, because often what we're looking at is we're only looking at that monthly payment, right? So we say, I can afford this monthly payment, so I'll be okay. And then something like maybe a job loss happens or a global pandemic happens, and then you're not getting the hours that you used to, or you're not getting the income that you used to, and you're in this place. So when those people in the community that say, well, shame on you for getting in debt, I would say to them, shame on you for passing judgment on your fellow citizens.
Speaking of the pandemic, have you noticed an increase of people filing for insolvency since the pandemic began?
Super interesting question. So what's happened over the years is insolvencies have increased. So bankruptcies have gone down, and consumer proposals, which is a type of restructuring under the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, they've gone up. But as the pandemic hit, insolvencies actually dropped. So last year, I believe it was about a 30% drop from the year prior. Now, you would think, well, that would suggest that everyone's doing a lot better.
Mhm.
Actually, is not at all. Those people that should have been filing last year weren't, because there wasn't that external pressure of the, you'd mentioned earlier about the collector calling you, right? So
Mhm.
because that collection activity hasn't happened, people haven't been moving forward with filing their insolvencies. So it's very likely, as things get normalized again and the banks start their collection activities, it's going to be coming back, and it's going to be so much more insolvencies coming down the road.
Some people might say that being able to declare bankruptcy encourages that. Should we be careful about the degree to which it is easy or difficult to declare bankruptcy?
Yeah, again, I think that perspective, and it is a perspective, and I'd never shame someone on what their perspective is, but it is missing a major component. So, what's important for us to understand as people is that in life we have promises
Mm.
and we have predictions, right? And every promise that we make is predicated on certain things happening. So, for example, the show today, it's promised that, hey, it's going to happen at this time, and this is what's going to happen. But if something occurs that there has to be a shift in this, part of being in a community is to recognize that not all promises need to always be held to that same account. So what we need to understand as citizens, and those citizens that are judging the other citizens that are utilizing these laws, is that these are not new laws.
Mm.
The Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act is 100 years old this year. And the creditors that loan money are very aware of this, right? And they charge interest to offset the potentiality of these debts going bad and being uncollectible. Now, for those that say, okay, fine, Shawn, that's the law, but what about the moral aspect of something like this? What I would suggest is, again, it would go back to watch your judgments of people, because walk in their shoes before you start passing those judgments. And I'll tell you something, Nam. When you do a restructuring, you're required to do a couple counseling sessions under the tutelage of the trustee, and it talks about money management and consumption habits and the warning signs of financial difficulty, and it helps us get to that better place.
We have about 30 seconds left. By looking forward, how do we get to a world where people don't have to go into debt just to survive?
Well, I think one day we might be able to get to a place where we have the universal income. I think CERB's been really beneficial for Canadians to get to that better place. But I don't know that we're ever going to get out of debt. I think it's going to be kind of part of what our community is all about. So really, it's about normalizing the ability to restructure that debt so we can get to a better place and take away that sort of stigma and shame for people.
Shawn, thank you so much for your insights. We really, really do appreciate you making time for us. I've been admiring the plants behind your back. Very nice. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.